It's another Behind the Buzz, a Public Fit Theater Company's occasional podcast where we conversate about the stuff that goes into the production of our season of plays and stage readings. This is episode 3 of season number 4, and today we'll be talking about our upcoming staged reading of Dominque Morisseau's Pipeline. Right over there is APF's artistic director, Anne-Marie Pereth.
Hi there.
And soon we'll be joined by the play's director, Jason Nious, and actor Sabrina Cofield. But first, Anne, it took us, a year or so to finally get Pipeline to the stage. We'd announced it before, and then some obstacles threw themselves in our path. Can you recount that process and just tell us a little bit about the why and the how of how we finally landed this one?
You want to talk about how last season we didn't do Pipeline?
Well, just how it came to be here, and well, I know how we didn't do it. We didn't do it.
All right. Well,
the way we didn't do Macbeth this year, and the way we didn't do Romeo and Juliet, and the way we won't be doing Long Day's Journey into Night next year.
Yeah, so we wanted to do Pipeline last year, and Jason was slated to direct that, but we had some challenges getting the rights, and so I don't want to put words in Jason's mouth, but I think we both agree that we love the script. It's a great script. And so I didn't want it to go by the wayside. And so we found a way to do it in this year's season. And I also teach women's playwrights, and I teach this play in my class. And I think it's a powerful story. I think that Dominque Morisseau's language, her poetry in the story is quite nice. I love the family relationships in this play. And I think that the title, Pipeline, is very telling about, and I don't want to speak for the Black experience, but my observations of the Black experience. And she does a wonderful job capturing that in the play.
Well, I can already see Sabrina and Jason nodding like crazy as you opined about that. So let's get them in right away. We don't need to speak too much longer. Let me just introduce really quickly. Mm-hmm. Sabrina Cofield is an Afro-Latina actress originally from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I've been to Albuquerque. I didn't care for it.
But Albuquerque
is a lovely town in New Mexico. She was a child performer, singing in church, starring in school plays, appearing in local commercials. She graduated from Clark Atlanta University with a degree in journalism, and from there went on to pursue a career in TV news, spending nearly 10 years as a producer, writer, showrunner, reporter, and on-camera actor. You've got an Emmy, don't you?
I do.
Yeah, but she left all of that.
Damn!
She left all of that to focus on her acting career. Her first love has always been the stage. You've seen her in The Royale and Macbeth and A Midsummer Night's Dream. She played Nurse Susie in our production of Wit, and she is the founder of Black Butterfly Media Group. This is her first Behind the Buzz. Sabrina, thanks for talking with us about Pipeline.
Thank you for having me. That was very impressive.
Did I get most of that right?
Yes.
Okay, well, let's see if I can do the...
You did all that.
I'll pay you later for it.
No,
that's beautiful. Thank you.
That's your life.
That is me. That's my life in a paragraph. Yes.
Let me see if I can do as well with Jason. Jason Nious is the founder and creative director of Melody, which he describes as an experimental body percussion company, performing and teaching literally worldwide. In fact, he's worked as a cultural ambassador with the U.S. Embassy in Africa, South America, and Central America. He started off life as an NCAA gymnast and then went on to perform with Stomp and Step Africa, as well as with Cirque du Soleil in Cause, Arcana, and One Drop. Currently, Jason's an artist in residence with the International Museum of Dance, and he serves as an arts integration consultant with Focus 5 Incorporated. His previous work with APF as a performer includes the staged readings of Incognito, Appropriate, Lobby Hero, and In the Blood. Most recently, though, for us, he directed our staged reading of Skeleton Crew and was the director of last season's wildly successful The Piano Lesson. He received his BA in theater from the University of New Mexico. Is that in Albuquerque?
Albuquerque.
What are the chances?
What are the odds of that? Did I get most of that right?
Oh, yeah.
Jason, well, I saw you guys. So Emery was describing the play and our sort of process in trying to get it into our season, and we really we fought to keep. When we lost the rights the first time, It didn't dissuade us. We obviously didn't do it in that season, but it was important enough for us to keep, in our sights. Sabrina, I'm going to start with you because I don't know why I get the impression. I feel like you have a really strong connection to this play.
Oh, well, yes, I do. Because I'm a mother of 2 boys.
Yeah.
And so reading this, it's so beautifully written. It is so incredibly written and truthful and grounded and relatable. And then for myself, as a Black female with 2 Black sons, there's such an understanding in the story. And it's both beautiful and heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I could not get through the script without crying. I will try. But yeah, it really speaks to my experience and the experience of my community.
Let me rewind just a second. And this may sound like a loaded question. It's not really. What's the play about?
The play is about, oh gosh, I mean, larger idea would be like the school to prison pipeline would be like, I
That's
guess,
the title, where the title comes from,
right,
Pipeline,
which
yeah.
is where the title comes from. But it's about a mother who is an educator. She works in the school system, and she has a son who is a teenager, and she sent him away to a boarding school, and he gets into some trouble at school. And so she is really trying to protect him and save him and ensure that he does not enter into that prison pipeline.
And it's not just a short-term story about trying to save him from the disciplinary actions of the school in which he's in. It's
Correct.
sort of a longer-term salvation arc that she's on. Yeah, does that
Right.
sound right, Jason? Is that what the play is for you?
Yeah, and looking at some of the research, it's what you just said. Like, not just the school's disciplinary action. You might get suspended for a week or something like that. It's really about when you're released into society and the percentages of kids who are out of school, especially of Black and brown kids, and how magnetic that pull is into the pipeline, into prison.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of both working together and seemingly by design. That's really what this is pointing the finger to, how these systems are coexisting to really, really attract these Black and brown people. I don't like saying Black bodies.
Yeah.
I do not like saying that.
Yeah.
I like saying Black and brown people. They're full existing people. So this play really gives really, really up close insight into the people, into the lives, into each decision. And it makes them less of a stereotype, less of a thing way over there. And you really start to get and understand and connect with every single person who is going through any type of struggle, but this huge magnetic system that is pulling them this way as well.
It's a gamble, Jasmine, all the time. You send them away for a weekend or a semester or a school year, and you have no idea if they're safe. No idea if someone will try to expire them because they are too young or too Black or too threatening or too quiet or too loud or too uninformed or too mysterious or too everyday or too cool or too uncompromised or just too.
It sounds like you share Sabrina's personal connection to the play.
I don't have Black sons.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
being a
You
Black-
are a Black son.
But being
Yeah.
a Black son, being a Black man,
Yeah.
it's not a mystery. I think everybody knows it. We're all in these same societies,
Yeah.
like the pool may be stronger in certain areas, certain neighborhoods, but to talk about it poetically, the way that she does, expose it and really, really dig into, Viola Davis put it this one way, the pathology of it.
Yeah.
That every single minutia, why and when and how one little choice, one little instance could draft you this entire other direction that you did not know your life was going and did not plan for.
Okay. Pretend for a second that I'm just a bald white guy. Try and pretend.
I'm gonna try really hard.
Is this a preachy play? Am I going to be preached to? Because you said something about poetry, and sometimes I wonder if a play like that comes out with a cudgel and has a point to prove that and starts to swing really sort of wildly at its subject.
I think we're talking about we're being very specific about what the play is about, the storyline, but it's really about family. It's really about a mother who wants to protect her children.
Yeah.
It's about a father who is trying to be active in his child's life and the challenges that brings. It's about, divorce. It's about, there's so many beautiful layers to the story that you will absolutely not be preached to answer your question.
Right. Well, and I don't get the impression in all the plays that I've read of hers, I don't get the impression that Morisseau is a particularly preachy playwright. Her focus seems to be on characters and language and
Relationships.
Relationships and poetry too. Jason, you brought up poetry. Talk a little bit about the poetry in the play, because when I read it, that's what really stood out to me. And it's not just in the actual literal poetry of the play within the play, but actually the language that she uses. And I'll just throw this out. You've come off of the piano lesson where the rhythm of August Wilson's language is very important to the drive of that play. I think Morisseau has a similar rhythm to her language. I won't say it's similar to August Wilson's, but it's certainly distinct and drives the rhythm and language of the play forward in a very specific way. Am I wrong?
You know what I want to say? I don't know if my ideas are going to come out in one straight sentence like hers does. Yeah. That's the power of her writing, really. Yeah. She condenses an entire idea into one sentence. That's the poetics of it. It's so compact, and you're like, oh, man,
Maybe I could jump in. There's a scene between Jasmine, the love interest of Omari, the son, and they talk about the metamorphic rock, right? She uses a lot of beautiful imagery in the text that doesn't seem like typical everyday conversational language. And so the first time I heard the play, I thought, wow, there's so many possibilities with the language because the imagery is so strong. Where most of the time, I'm presuming, I've only seen one other production of this, it's really set in a realistic setting.
Yeah.
But I could see, because the imagery is so strong and the poetry is a little bit outside of the world of realistic language, that you could heighten it in some way if you wanted to because of the imagery. And that's what stuck out to me.
And we're playing with those conventions and how we're staging it, how we're putting it up, Omari Quadre, who's playing Omari, just yesterday at rehearsal, he was saying, I don't really know what to do with this, because I think he's not really comfortable with poetry, especially the blatant poetry, right? And so we started working it in a way that shows both of those worlds, the realism that's going on in Nious' world, teaching the audience, right, teaching the class, and in him in this undefined space as she writes, at the same time on the same stage,
fun.
So this blend of the realism and this undefined space, we're using those concepts throughout, and how we move from one scene to the next. And then I think that's a metaphor for how she's using this poetry as well. Like there's ideals that each of these characters want to live as, want to reach, want to be, and then there's the reality of what they're actually in, their surroundings. And I think that's the poetics, the magic of and you feel it, and then you get it, and then you come back to it a week later and you get more of it, and it's like it just keeps unveiling itself that both of these are happening at the same time.
It sounds like you've discovered something pretty quickly that it took Anne-Marie and I 5 years to discover. No, which is that the readings, directing the readings really allow you a different sort of freedom than when you're directing,
now
a fully scaled production. The readings allow you to take bigger risks. They allow you to try, different approaches to things. Have you discovered that?
Both Anne-Marie and Diane, this round with this play, both said that from different angles. Y'all didn't say it together. It's like, I don't even know if you told each other or each of you knew that you were each telling me that, but they said, take risk with this one. This is the one.
Yeah.
This is the chance. Doing these library readings, this is where you can experiment, go a little bit further, try something brand new.
Well, but I don't think you need to be told that. I mean, you showed us that with Skeleton Crew. I mean, there was a rhythmic movement sequence in Skeleton Crew in the character of an assembly plant that none of us saw coming. I mean, that seemed like a huge risk.
But what I think is interesting, though, is now he's been on the other side. Now he's done, you're in the room and we're talking about you like you're not here. But you've done the piano lesson. You saw how mammoth a piece that is. And now, you're doing Pipeline. And there's a lot of pressure when you're doing a fully mounted, fully budgeted production.
Where we're charging admission.
Right.
The readings are still free, of
Where
course.
I'm directing a reading this year, and I can't wait because I'm like, what, exotic thing am I going to bring to the table?
Is this your first reading with us, Sabrina? You've done...
No, I did In the Blood.
That's right.
Oh, that's right.
In
of
the
course,
Blood,
of
yeah.
course.
Actually,
You
where
were
my assistant, Jason.
Yep.
Yeah, you were bully.
That's
I was,
right.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Did how are you finding it this time? Has it changed? Has the process changed? I know our venue has changed somewhat, and In the Blood was before. I think we were sort of adding sets and costume
Absolutely.
pieces and whatever. So we've changed that scope a little bit. Has your approach to doing a reading changed?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, because yes, In the Blood was still, I think, a little bit in the beginning of when
Very.
we were doing the readings. And
Yeah.
so there was still just, microphones, a script in hand, and just very, really just reading the story. But now it's such a beautiful exploration of what it could be, right? Like what it could be if we were to do a full production or something like that. So
And you guys are spending a lot of time in table work, as I understand it. You've done some of it here, and then I think some more even at the space. What's that been like?
it's incredible. Jason's incredible, obviously, and he really just forces you to think deeper and to think more about these characters and the relationships and the families, and then also dealing with the different images and imagery that he's got in his mind and how it relates to the story. So the table work has been really awesome, especially with all the other actors. There are some actors that are also in the play that this may be their first time being on stage.
You've got some new
Yes.
We
blood in
do.
this one, and
And it's been fun.
Well, and ridiculously dynamic. You've
Yes.
got, I think the whole cast is really, really dynamic. But you mentioned Quadre, this kid.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
When they came through to the auditions, we were like, everybody in the room, but
Yeah, I
like,
remember.
no response. It's like,
Yeah.
what can you say? Like, they just came, just burnt. And then you ask them, what's your resume? What else have you done? Oh, nothing. Stop lying. Get out my face. Like,
Man.
now answer the question.
I could go
what
back
else?
and
Like,
be that focused. That
Yeah.
How are
Oh
they?
my
How are they
goodness.
responding to? How are they responding to doing table work?
I just want to say they're open. They're so ready. And, when I say they, it's Quadre and Jasmine. And then the other new face is Devon, but he has some good experience. He's been
Yeah.
bringing that to the table too. But Quadre and Jasmine, the openness and they're good. And it's not just natural. It's trained, it's studied, and it's on purpose. And that's what I've been finding out over rehearsal. It's not just this fluke of talent. The talent's all there, but it's
Yeah.
like, yo, they work. They work and they're working hard and making choices, and they're just open and receptive to like go on this bus that we're.
I may be telling tales out of school here, and tell me if I am. But I don't know that I've ever met an actor who wanted it more than Quadre. He comes to see our shows. Not just once, not just twice, 3 and 4 times to just study the performers and study the work because he just wants it, whatever it is, wants it so bad. I'm glad to hear that that's translating into actual rehearsal.
We need to work this out.
I'm working my stuff.
Nah. With me. We gotta work this out together.
We quit together a long time ago.
I never quit you.
quit her. And you quit me.
I didn't. You don't know what you're talking about. There are adult business you aren't privy to. You must learn to keep these issues separate. You are my son. I never quit you.
She was creeping? That's the adult business? That's the grown-up stuff I can't handle?
Never mind. Just let this go.
And you were mean, cold, making her feel like shit every day. You was never happy living over here, and that wasn't her fault, mine either.
He texted me this morning. No, 7-something in the morning. I'm in the gym at my place.
Wait, there's still a 7 in the morning?
At 7 in the morning, he texted me and he was like, hey, basically on one note that I gave him from the last rehearsal. And it wasn't even a note on what he did. It was like, okay, let's look into that. Let's see if we can devise something with this movement here. He's texting me. He was like, what if we do this and this? And so I'm in the gym sweating and everything. And so I'll take a picture. Well, if you do it like this. And so we got this whole text change just from this. That's how dedicated this dude is.
I'm really excited to see this performance and this entire production. And that's just a small reason for it. But
I have a little, he goes by Q, doesn't he? Or does he go by Quadway?
You know, I'm not sure. I don't know him outside of this world.
Phone in and tell him.
Yeah.
We have a lifeline. He came up to me after, him and Jasmine came up to me after Indecent, and they're like, oh, I need to start learning dialects. I was like, why? You don't need a dialect for your current show. Yeah, but these other actors in your play, they were using all these dialects, and I need to start learning how to do dialects. And I was like, yes, you do. Let's, you don't need to know them right now, but I mean, he's down the road.
Yeah.
He knows he's driven, and he wants to just keep adding to his process. And like you said, I wish that I was that driven and that focused at that age.
Yes.
Because he's going to accomplish great things because of his seriousness.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But you play his mother.
I do.
Sabrina, do you feel that a connection with all of this with him? Is there a
100%?
Yeah.
He's like Jason said, he's so eager to learn and to just be there. It's so fun to go through the table work and go through these characters and explore different avenues of being on stage and performing. I love actually sitting back watching Jason work with them, because you see light bulbs come on and you see them open up and become free, and it's just really exciting. Like, I wish I was their age, however old they are. I don't know.
Don't we? Oh God, I wish
He's
I was
probably way too old to be my son.
I
though,
wish
for
I
the
was
record.
your age, Sabrina, for God's sake. Jason, you were early on in this conversation. You talked about poetry and Q having some questions about the poetry. And we're not just talking about the poetry of dialogue and the poetry of language. We're talking about literal poetry. The
Gwendolyn.
teacher. I think
cool.
I think that your character. So I think Mia is she an English teacher? Is she a literature teacher?
I would say so, because
I think
I'm
so.
discussing a Gwendolyn Brooks play.
Yeah, and they talk about
poem. Excuse me.
yeah, and they talk about their classwork, specifically about some of this poetry. How are you handling that? Do we have another machine shop auto plant movement piece to look forward to?
Somebody else asked me that earlier. Are we going to be clapping and stomping and doing all this stuff? And I was
Tambourines.
like,
I'm hoping tambourines. That's all I want. All I want is a show with tambourines. I started this theater company. We have yet to do a single tambourine production.
you know what's funny? Like,
this
taking
time.
the advice to try something new.
Yeah.
Actually, no. We're not doing stomping and clapping.
Something new for you is to not do that.
Is to not do it and
Right.
explore the imagery a little bit more, explore the other sounds. I'm definitely, like a little. There's some. You'll see it. You'll feel it. There's things that are not written in the play that I'm just kind of like ooh, but not attached to stomping and clapping.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's new for me, Yeah, so that's actually where I'm trying to expand a little
It's
bit.
nice to reinvent yourself, isn't it?
That part,
Yeah.
keep on learning. That's
And
why.
stretch and see where other strengths may lie.
Yeah.
But he still does such a beautiful job of incorporating who he is as a director, as a artist.
AKA, I'll be acting a fool at rehearsal.
No,
I will act the
the
fool.
play. No, I'm talking about in the direction of the play. just you can watch certain things that he does and you're like, oh, that's Jason. Jason did that. Because there's a voice that he has that resonates through all the work that he does, whether it's, stepping or anything like that, but there's something that resonates that's very true and like rooted. Mm-hmm. So I think that is still there.
And what's growing? I think, all of this is about growth and everything, again, going back to, okay, the library experiment, just try something new, right? How much I've expanded because of these last two processes, like with Skeleton Crew and the piano lesson, man. And it's become way more fun than I ever knew. Than I ever expected before starting directing. Mm-hmm. And now, like the table work, that's the best part. Like, I love it. I love it. It's just geeking out on, like, it's a mystery novel, finding the next clue, finding the next thing. And then it's like, oh, the next step is, okay, put it in their bodies or put it, just make sure everything is communicated through the actors, that they know it just that well. And then you start just discovering how many choices they start making that you didn't think of. And it's just, the whole thing is just like this adventure, just to get the thing mounted. Are you
finding clues like that in Morisseau's script? Are there words that are repeated, or there are references that are sort of continually coming up again over and over again? Is she that sort of playwright for you?
What we now I'm about to get really specific, but
sure.
With Nious' storyline, like it's unspoken, even though it's blatantly there, and it's breath, her attachment to breath, her attachment to cigarettes, and what that does over the course of the play. Yeah. That was, and it's not a mystery. It's ingrained in the play, but like to really examine where it's at in each scene and how it grows and moves like an amoeba, and when she's in charge of it and when it's in charge of her, and that is almost another character that's going on, and that's not written in dialogue, but it's exposed throughout, and so that's a fun thing to.
You're speaking about addiction, and she's not identified as an addictive character or as an addict. That's not it's a quality, but it's not necessarily the driving force of her character.
No, not at all. I mean, I think it's how she's dealing, or I am dealing with stress, like the worry about my son and the situation, and not unsure of how I can fix it, if I even can.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just her dealing with that stress and trying to like just stay present and not lose it.
How much time have you spent thinking about this character? Because you were on board last year when we had originally, when we had announced it before, so you'd clearly read it and spent some time with it. Has it gotten really into your head?
It has. And again, it's because it's such a relatable story.
Yeah.
And so there's so much of it that the thing that is incredible also about the writing is it's written so well that it's very natural. The language is language that, a 17-year-old boy would be using, or that things that a mother would actually say to her son. It's not this, kind of off the wall way of speaking that you have to kind of get into your brain and get into your body. It is a very natural way of communicating with everyone in the play. So that has also been very easy to get it into my body and into my brain.
Also, kind of. I mean, I don't know if you think of yourself this way, but she's a very elegant character, and you're also a very elegant woman. So the marriage of you and her, I could see it being very easy because it's just so innate in you in that way. So I'm excited to see how those two ideas blend
together. Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, it's an incredible play. She's an incredible character.
So, what else is coming up at A Public Fit as we plug along in this, our 10th season? Well, we've been talking about Dominque Morisseau's Pipeline. That stage reading runs for 2 performances over at the Clark County Library on January 26th and 27th. But so much more yet to come this season. We're back at the Super Summer Studio Theater in February for our second main stage show, The Futuristic X by Alistair McDowell. And then back we go to the library in March for Lauren Gunderson's ridiculously funny Exit, Pursued by a Bear. Our final main stage show is being presented in association with Vegas Theater Company. Dancing at Lunasa by Brian Friel will be presented downtown at the Art Square Theater in April. And finally, The Pavilion by Craig Wright will close out our 10th season with a staged reading in June back at the Flamingo Library. That's a lot to remember. So a quick visit to apublicfit.org lets you keep it all handy. Of course, stay tuned here for upcoming episodes of Behind the Buzz to soak up even more information and join even more conversations. We've got a host of performers and directors, designers, and playwrights to talk about the work we do. And speaking of Behind the Buzz, I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the conversation that we had about our opening reading this season, The Lifespan of a Fact. Now, you never got to hear that episode. A technical glitch prevented us from sharing it, but we had a great conversation with director Gigi Guisado and with Majestic Rep's artistic director Troy Hurd. See, they're actually mounting the play, and we thought it would be fun to talk about two theaters doing the same show in the same season. So we had them over. Troy was great and very generous with his time, and I just wanted to make sure that everybody who saw our reading had a chance to see what they're doing over at Majestic. Their production of Lifespan of a Fact opens February 22nd. Run over there and see it if you get the chance. We've talked a little bit about the younger, not just newer, but literally younger actors. They're all younger than us. I mean, look at us, for God's sake.
We're you and me.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
I was looking at you when I said
not
it.
them.
No, not them.
You
like,
and
hey,
I.
No,
Yeah,
surely
yeah,
not them. No, us.
Us,
You and
yes.
me, Emery. These two youngsters.
Yes.
Uh,
Let's be clear.
and we're seeing, I think, at least from my perspective, we're seeing sort of flight from the theater for younger audiences. There doesn't seem to be that much interest. You know, we're fighting a struggle to bring in younger audience members. These kids, the kids that you've cast in this play, love the theater. They love going to the theater, they love being involved in it. What's the trick, do you think, Jason, of expanding that appeal to younger audiences and letting we've always said, you know, it was one of our early speech talking points was that the future of the theater doesn't depend on new actors and new playwrights and new directors, that the future of the theater truly depends on new audiences. And we've tried very hard with our talkbacks and our buzz sessions and all these conversations to grow that theater. Is there something that we're missing? I mean, you spend a lot of time, look, you literally are around the world teaching to young audiences, working with young people.
Please enlighten us.
Everywhere. I wonder what your journeys have taught you.
Tell us what we need to do.
I honestly think it's where we are in the cycle. To fight the cycle is just life is going to keep on life, and that's just 100%. So if you're in winter, why are you trying to grow these crops? It's kind of like that. Meaning, here's what I mean with that.
Did you just make that shit up? In winter, why are you going to grow these crops? Did you just pull
I'm
that out of your
telling
ass
you.
just now?
Because
Good stuff here.
That was fantastic. I could have
it's
write that shit down.
all of this, all technology, AI, everything on our phone, we're going so far that way that a live event and a storytelling right in front of you is exciting now. And so that's the full circle. It's like, okay, well, that's so old school, and then you go this way, right? Like with all this technology and all this on screen, and like that. Now it's enticing to come back to the live theater. So really the linchpin is they just need to know it exists. They forgot, or there's a big gap there, with the younger generations. They don't even know. So exposing them to it. So I used to teach, this was some years ago, after school program. And I started with stepping, but then I did this little survey. What do you want to do? And one of them said acting. I was like, okay, well, let me bring in these little scripts of condensed Shakespeare. Didn't change the language, just shorter scripts of just some scenes and all that stuff. So brought that in, man. And you talk about, they were so attached to it. They were trying to learn the language. Their minds were so open and their eyes were huge. And I did not know that was going to happen. I was like, okay, they're just going to be acting up. There's going to be behavior problems like there were with stepping. I thought they'd be way more attached to the stepping. Yeah. Man, when I brought in those scripts and I said, highlight that. What does that word mean? And then we just started breaking down the words of Shakespeare. Their eyes, their attention, their open chests were just looking, and then they weren't afraid to try and get up and do this one scene from Romeo and Juliet and this one scene but they hadn't been exposed to it. I didn't know that. That was a big, just lucky lucky, that I was like, well, just made a choice this one day, and I was like, brought it to them, versus you got to pay a ticket versus, so if they don't know it exists and they don't know the power of it. So little, in school demos, little assemblies or little workshops will start to attract, more of the younger generation, I think.
What do you ascribe that enthusiasm to?
If they can see themselves in it somehow, that's the power of representation. Going way back to, I don't know if y'all remember this, when Jada Pinkett Smith boycotted the Oscars. Way back when, 7, 8 years ago, whenever it was.
I've been boycotting Jada Pinkett Smith, so I don't really.
Not the current. Yeah, we can talk about the current Will Smith. No, none of this slap. Way before that, when they were still the top dog of Hollywood, right?
Got it.
And she boycotted, and Will was up for an Oscar that same year, right? And she boycotted and basically created this campaign. Somebody asked me like 2 years after that, well, what did it do? What did not just the boycotting, but what does representation really mean? And she actually started some programs and got some of the studios to start programs for interning, not just in front of the camera, but behind the camera, because representation matters. If you see yourself in those roles, if you know those things exist, you actually start to create a path, as we're talking about a pipeline, right? Yeah. A pipeline towards success, if you can see yourself there. My personal story, I'm not a drummer. As funny as it is, all this stomping, all this everything, I'll beat all the rhythms on my body, but sticks in my hand, my left hand, no, hell no. Sorry, y'all. But it's not it. But when I saw the show Stomp with all the trash cans tour to Albuquerque, right? And I was sitting in the third row, and there was literally a dude, his name is Carlos. He looked just like me, same size. I was this gymnast, right? Back in the day. So he's just buff, muscles, short, bald head, black dude.
That sounds like you, actually.
And he looked dead like me. I saw myself. I kind of already wanted to do it, but the confidence that gave me, that's real. That is so real. And that is, to come back to this play, or any kind of inner city, if you don't see yourself there, you don't know how to make a path there. If you even see one image of yourself or somebody like you or your mother or somebody, you start to make those neural connections that I can, this is possible. Otherwise, it's not possible.
Well, and Sabrina, you've talked about the play being about a mother and her connection to her son. So clearly that's your perspective. So here we have a play for mothers. Is it also a play about a son and his relationship to his mother? So we see the play from the perspective of the son. I know that's not really your character, but I'm sure you can speak to that a little bit.
100%. My boys will be there. They will be coming to see the show. And I just text 2 of my girlfriends who have sons, telling them about the show and telling them, you got to bring your boys to see it as well. And so I think, to piggyback off what Jason was saying, it's about the choice of shows that are chosen, for each season, something that is identifiable to a younger audience and something that they can see themselves in. And then obviously, whoever's on stage, it's always, everywhere we go, especially with theater, we want to see ourselves in something. And if you go a few times and the story is not relatable and you don't see yourself on stage, it's very easy to disconnect. And so this is an incredible story because I do think it will attract, or it should attract, a younger audience and male audience, like a younger male audience, which I think is really exciting because, again, the writing is spot on and the characters are spot on. So they're very, very relatable to a younger audience.
Well, if they know about it, if we can get the information out there, and if they're still interested in seeing theater, as Jason was talking about, the thrill of seeing a live story right there in front of them, talking about the rubber band stretching and snapping back to wherever they may want to sit in front of a live, real live people and hear a story.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's the appeal of the show, is that connection to both sides, right? Mom and son and family, and is it a show about race? Does that play into it?
I'm trying to think, do we ever mention it?
That's funny. That was the same question in Skeleton Crew, right? And I don't want I have not read all of Dominque Morisseau's plays.
Yeah.
But the answer to that in Skeleton Crew was, no, it's not about race. It's about workers in a factory trying to do a thing, right? This one, it is and it's not. You know, the bigger outside system is happening, and that is about the race. But there is an aspect, yes, of why he's getting pulled so quickly, so immediately, you know, and what happened on that day. So I think that does speak to why did he, Omari, the son, not get respected on that day, which initiated the incident
The
that
day
happened.
of the incident.
What I've noticed, because I've looked at this play several times in a classroom setting, is Omari is in a white school, right?
Yes, yes.
So, and his teacher, we don't see this happening on stage. It's related through exposition. But he's treated as the token black student, which, because he's having complications with his father and unexpressed emotions, there's that at play. But also because he's being treated as token, right, it creates an emotional response in him. So that is a race issue. Also, in the case of Naya, what I find to be interesting is she does not express her emotion. She pushes it down quite a bit. Whereas your counterpart, the white teacher, right, all she does is express emotion. So it's a commentary to me that white people are allowed to express their rage, but the black population are not allowed to express their rage, because if they do, they'll get arrested or something bad will happen to them. So she doesn't come out and say that. Like, she doesn't use language to say that. It just is in the play. And I think it's a commentary, and it's a problem. We should all be able to have spaces where we're allowed to express our feelings.
Anyway, what the hell was I talking about?
Louis Gazpacho.
Oh, exactly. Oh, he could be a real terror when he was having a day. So one time he threw a book at me and just nearly knocked out that smart little West Indian girl that sat right in front of me.
Okay, I don't think that you should call her.
I grabbed his scrawny little ass in the middle of the class and gave him 3 whacks to his backside, and never a book thrown again. That kid got almost straight A's that year, but they don't give me credit for that, because he got institutionalized a couple of years later and pulled out of school. So it's like he never existed. But I had him functioning high, you know. A good old whipping can teach a lot.
Can I just say too? I just want to tell a quick story, and if this is not interesting, we can cut it. But we do readings at the house here frequently in trying to put together seasons, and you both have been involved in a number of those readings to help us hear a play and to talk about whether or not it's a fit, pun intended, for us here at APF. And one of those was, is it called Grandview?
Fairview.
Fairview. And we came in and we read Fairview. Sabrina, you were here. Jason, I think you were both here for that. And that play has an agenda. It has a very clear agenda. And when it was all over, we said, is this a play for the season? These are the potential drawbacks, and this is what we think the buzz, quote unquote, would be about that play. A very clear play about the separation of the races. And I think to a man, everyone on one side of that conversation said, no, we're tired of this conversation. This isn't a conversation we want to have anymore. I thought the play was really well written. I liked it very much. I'm, again, an old, bald, white guy. And my perspective was, oh, let's keep talking about this. But yours was completely different. I think both of you were of that same opinion of, this isn't a conversation that's interesting anymore. And I'm wondering if you're carrying that attitude. First of all, am I right? Do I remember that correctly?
Yeah, with that play, I remember that one sitting right here in this chair.
Yeah, that very chair.
Yeah, and timing is a lot to do with that. You
That's
know,
fair. That's
coming off of the incident with George Floyd wasn't an incident. That was a move. That was a worldwide awakening.
Yeah.
And so the burden of teaching, of Black people teaching all the time, how to be regular, how to be human, how to have just some decency.
Yeah.
That's at that time what that play also carried. And it's like, no, that's the one thing at that time we could do is just say, you know what? No, I'm not. I'm not going to carry this burden of teaching, explain. We've been doing that for 400 years. It's a no.
And you're not feeling that in this play. You're not feeling that with Pipeline.
No, this is a completely different play.
Oh, I don't mean to compare them. I think they are completely different plays about completely different subject matter. But the overall tone of we must educate, that doesn't feel like it's a part of your process here.
I feel you. I hear what you're saying, and this just goes back to giving props to Dominque Morisseau, because it's not preachy. It's you're just really going into each of these characters wanting something. She writes really she writes really beautiful. Every person at this table said that already.
This playwriting thing might take off for her. She might have a career after all.
You know,
Up and comer.
She might be onto something.
the MacArthur genius, you know.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Already proven 10 times over. But yeah, she might be onto something. But so no, in that way, it was an automatic, immediate yes. And the more that we get into this work, it's yes, yes, and more yes, you know? And yes, it does. It does. Like you were saying, I'm glad you explained that, because the race is there, you know, but it's the reality that's already the world. It's
of
just
society.
And we all know it, you know, to just talk about it as if this is regular. It is regular. It's sad that it's regular, but it's regular, you know? So it's not pounding you over the head. We're really just getting into that decision on that day, this thing on this day. And it's really about the characters. It's really about these families trying to come back together some way by what they know and what they think that they know works, what they've been taught, you know?
And just to go back to Fairview, there might come a time where it will be appropriate to do that play. It just, when we were coming off of the George Floyd and coming out of COVID, it just didn't feel right.
That's fair. I didn't even take into account the idea of timing as a. It seemed like a very reactive commentary to that specific play, and timing didn't even occur to me. But I'm gonna go back, Sabrina. You were nodding all through Jason's commentary. Does that feel true?
Yeah, like I was just saying, it's a reflection of society, and you know, Anne-Marie said it so beautifully, with the white teacher and the Black teacher in the play, how one is able to express rage and another one is not. And it's those nuances where it is just a reflection of the reality that we all live in. And I just wonder if it will even be understood. You know, it's one of those things where it's like we recognize these different things because we dive into the play and we're looking at it. But because it is such a normality, I wonder if it will even be noticed.
Well, having taught the play, I didn't notice it for a long time, and I'm sad that I didn't notice it because it's just in the air, and you have to look at the play. So that's why I don't think the play is. She's not hammering you.
Well, I agree.
Yeah,
I hope I didn't insinuate
it's
that.
very, very subtle, but it is sad that it took me a while to see that because I looked at the Lori character, that is her name, right? Am I remembering that correctly? That, you know, that's a normal situation where a teacher would be that passionate about trying to protect her students, but we don't get to see you protect your son in the same way.
Yeah.
I know that you want to protect Omari, okay? And I know that you care about him deeply.
So deep I got indigestion over him.
All right, but keeping his whereabouts a secret, that is not helping him. Do you hear me? Not even a little bit.
What you gonna do if you know? Go follow him? Convince him not to do something he set his mind to? Do you really think that's gonna work?
I wouldn't be worth my salt as a mother if I did it.
Miss Joseph, I know you think I'm not good enough for your son. My parents think nobody good enough for me. I get it. Nobody's good enough for nobody. But me and Omari, we got something real. And even if you think I'm worthless, I'm still gonna love him.
Okay, I don't think that you're worthless.
Nah, you do.
Well, and too, Anne-Marie, you can speak from. I mean, not just Sabrina speaks from the perspective of a mom And as far as I know, you don't have any children, unless there's a secret you want to tell me.
Just this puppy on my lap.
Just that dog. But you can speak because you're a teacher, so you
Yes.
can speak from the educational perspective, the educational institution perspective. What structures are in place in the institution that
I
this
think
play speaks to?
I think if in this story, if Naya had broken up a fight between two of the students with a broom, she would be immediately fired. Where in the case of Lori, she is not.
Jason and Sabrina are conspiring with the script over here.
We were looking for that quote. Dune says it. He says, "How you gonna understand a book you only skimming? How you gonna understand a whole book that you're only skimming? You know,
And that's the play to you.
Yeah. You know, and well, you just mentioned it. You know, like you've been teaching it for years, or you've read it so many times, right? But then to realize, oh, this is here after this many times of reading it. That's not.
Oh no, I'm indicting myself. I am completely indicting myself. Absolutely.
These inner cities, like this one is placed in an inner city, you know, like that's from an external point of view, that's what they're talking about. That's what she's saying, you know, like you're kind of skimming, and so we're automatically thinking that we know what's going on, or we know how to fix it, or government can do this, or another policy can do this, without being in the classroom, without being in that home, without really knowing what it's like to walk from here to here on a daily basis, you know. So it's skimming, you know. So anyway, Dune, we talked about that, the impact of that character, the security guard, to say those lines. Again, props to Dominique. I love her.
Absolutely.
Man.
I think this goes back a little bit too to when we did the reading the very first time here, the table reading. There was a bit of a discussion about, well, maybe, you know, she's kind of missing the mark, because I don't think that would happen to this kid. He's a good kid. He's at a good school. You know, this is just, he doesn't have a big history of having problems. And so I think he'll be fine. And I wholeheartedly disagreed with that, in the sense of having boys, sending them to great schools. They're, you know, they've never been in trouble, whatever. But it's like, you don't see that, or a police officer, whoever, is not going to see that on the street. You don't see all of these things that make him worthy of being protected, or of not having, you know, a strike against him ruin his whole life. My son is walking down the street in a black hoodie in a neighborhood that he does not belong in.
Yeah.
That is what they will see.
Yeah.
And whatever happens as a result of that will not have anything to do with his education, you know, what kind of person he is, what instruments he plays, what scholarships he has. It will have nothing to do with that.
And we're going to blame the hoodie.
It will have to do with what is a preconceived idea of who he is. And so that speaks to Jason saying, you know, you can't understand a book that you're just skimming. It's this idea of we're making very snap judgments about people and circumstances without reading. So I think this play does a good job of making us read, helping us see people.
That seems like plenty. So let's end it there. Thanks, Jason. Thank you, Sabrina, for talking about your work this afternoon. I love these conversations.
Can I say,
yeah,
I want to say thank you to APF, to you two, who made a conscious choice to start selecting these plays, you know, to give voice to these plays, these playwrights, these stories, because this is the how. You ask, how do we attract more young people to the theater? They need to see themselves. And that's not just a black or white thing, but more people are seeing themselves in these plays. These are American plays. These are plays, you know, this is just humanity. So you guys being one of the companies who are really actively on purpose choosing to include in the season plays like these, you know, these are not just black plays.
There's nothing charitable about it. I mean, it's
well,
clearly
but it was a
just
choice, right?
we are just blatantly scrapping for whatever audiences we can, and they're just great stories. They're
She's a great playwright.
And stories that need to be told.
But there was a line, to me, doing some of the readings before and seeing, not every single season, but seeing what you've done before, the audiences that come, you know, whether it's free or paid, and then the line after that. I think that the line is the George Floyd. That's what I've observed being in Las Vegas and being here. So I just want to acknowledge that, to make a conscious choice, that sitting down, reading 100 plays that you know, here that never got produced, and just kind of choosing the next season, and the whys and the awareness, the awakening, and then actively doing it. Because there's a lot of talk going on, a lot of DEI departments that have closed back down.
Yeah.
And you're still doing it. So I do want to give you your acknowledgement for being one of those companies who are actually doing, because this is how change happens.
Well, I love what August Wilson did. He had the Pittsburgh cycle, right?
Yeah.
And he wrote, was it 8 or 9 plays?
10 total.
10 plays. And so isn't this part of like the Detroit cycle?
Yeah.
So he paved the way, August Wilson. And I love that a woman is picking up the torch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
Thanks, guys, for coming. I can't wait to see this one. The way you talk about it with such passion, and the choices that you're making, and the casting. I'm looking forward to this one a great deal. 2 performances. Yeah, just the 2.
Yeah, but 300 seats.
300 seats. And see
600 people in Vegas will see this show.
Well, we really do love these conversations. And you out there, if you're listening right now, I hope you enjoy these conversations too. And if you do, I hope you'll take the time to maybe give us a quick review, either through this service that you're using, or through the Google or the Yelp or the Apple. Your feedback makes certain that we can build on these conversations and create the specific sort of content that you're interested in. You can also connect with us the old-fashioned way, through email, by writing us at behindthebuzz@apublicfit.org. We really love hearing from you, because otherwise we're just talking to ourselves. And as you hear me say after every episode, there is so much to talk about. Behind the Buzz is a product of a public theater company. It is directed by Anne-Marie Pereth and me, Joe Kucan, and is recorded, mixed, and edited by the nomadic Diane Walton.